All right, so are you ready to jump back into this crazy world of SEO?
Yeah.
It's been, a few weeks since that last Google Core update, and I don't know about you, but I'm still kind of reeling.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I mean, websites are like shooting to the top of the search results, and then, bam, they're practically gone a week later. It's wild.
Yeah, it's definitely been a roller coaster ride for a lot of people.
Totally. So we're going to break it all down today. We're going to figure out what happened, what it means for everyone out there who's, trying to make their website actually show up on Google.
Right.
So think of this as like a deep dive into the latest in SEO. We've got our trusty monthly SEO update here. It's got all the expert opinions, the data, the whole shebang.
Also, it's like our roadmap.
Exactly. So let's just jump right in.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so first up, these ranking reversals. Have you heard about this?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's kind of crazy, right? Barry Schwartz, he's been all over this, and he's saying some sites are seeing huge gains, and then all of a sudden they're tanking.
Yeah, it's like 1 minute you're on top of the world, and the next minute you're, back at square one.
So why is this happening? What's going on here?
Well, these core updates, they're basically like Google going in and tinkering with its main algorithm, the thing that decides, how websites are ranked.
Yeah.
And they do this a couple times a year. They say it's to improve the quality of the search results.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I think these reversals that we're seeing, they're like a sign that Google's getting better at figuring out what people actually want when they search, what they're really looking for.
Oh, so it's not just about matching keywords anymore.
Right. It's more about understanding the intent behind the search. What's the user's goal?
So if you're just trying to game the system with a bunch of keywords, that's not going to cut it.
Nope, not anymore.
You actually have to have, good content that people want to read.
Exactly.
Wow, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and another thing, it's not just about the content. Like Glenn Gabe, he's another SEO expert, and he's been seeing websites get hit with these big traffic swings because of technical stuff.
What kind of technical stuff?
Oh, like if your website's slow or it doesn't work well on mobile phones.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so Google's really cracking down on those things too. It's all about the user experience.
So basically, if your website's a pain to use, Google's going to be like, nope.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so that's content and technical stuff. What else?
Well, Lily Ray, she's been noticing a spike in spam after this update.
Spam? Really?
Yeah, it's like the spammers are always trying to find new ways to, trick Google and get to the top of the results.
And Google's trying to stop them, obviously.
Yeah, but it's like a constant battle, back and forth.
So even with all these changes, Google's still struggling with spam.
It's a tough problem to solve, for sure.
I guess it makes you wonder how much we should actually rely on Google for traffic,
Right. It's risky to put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
Right.
And this reminds me of something Sandy Rowley said. She's like a total SEO guru. And she always says, don't put all your eggs in the Google basket.
Smart advice. It's like, what happens if Google makes another big change and your website suddenly tanks?
Right. You're kind of stuck.
Exactly. That's why it's so important to, build your audience in other ways too, like on social media or through email lists.
Yeah, don't just depend on Google.
Right, exactly. Diversify. That's the key.
Okay, so we got these ranking reversals, spam's on the rise, and Google's getting tougher on websites that aren't user-friendly.
Yep, that's the gist of it.
Now we're going to get into a case study that really shows just how much things are changing. Have you heard about Jake Boley?
Oh, yeah, that's a wild one.
His story is like every website owner's worst nightmare.
Yeah. Imagine going from 200,000 website visitors every month down to less than 1,000.
Practically overnight.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what happened to Boley.
Ouch. So what happened? Did he break some Google rule or something?
Well, not exactly. Okay. He's got a couple websites, like a gym website and a shoe review site, and they were doing really well.
So what went wrong?
The Ahrefs team and Sam, he's an SEO expert, they dug into it, and basically his content just wasn't cutting it anymore. It wasn't really what people were searching for.
So he was showing up in the search results, but people weren't clicking on his website.
Right, or they were clicking but then leaving right away.
Oh, I see. So it wasn't engaging enough.
Exactly. And that's a bad sign for Google. It tells them that the content isn't relevant or helpful.
Makes sense.
So they helped him do what's called content optimization.
What's that?
It's basically making sure your content actually answers the questions that people are typing into Google,
Oh, so it's not enough to just have content. It has to be the right content.
Exactly. It's all about giving people what they're looking for.
I like that. Give the people what they want.
Right. And this isn't just about gyms or shoe reviews. This is about any website, any business.
So how do you figure out what people actually want?
Well, you have to think like your potential customers. What are their problems? What are they searching for?
It's almost like you have to read their minds.
In a way, yeah. You have to understand their intent.
And then you can create content that meets those needs.
Exactly.
Okay, so Google's constantly updating its algorithms, and now we've got all these regulations coming into play.
Right. It's a lot to keep up with.
I know. Kevin Indig, he's an SEO strategist. He's talking about how this new Digital Markets Act in Europe is like creating two different internets.
Two different internets.
Yeah, one for the US and one for Europe.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, in Europe, it's all about giving users more control over their data, like
Right.
privacy and stuff.
Yeah, right.
But in the US, it's still all about algorithms and personalization.
So different approaches, huh?
Yeah, totally different.
So what does that mean for SEO? Like, do we need to start thinking about different strategies for different parts of the world?
That's a good question. I mean, imagine two sets of rules, two different search experiences, maybe even two completely different sets of best practices for SEO.
Wow, that's a lot to think about.
I know. Indig even calls it a split testing tool for the whole world.
That's a good way to put it, actually.
It's like we're going to see how these different approaches to online privacy and competition play out and which one, actually works better for SEO in the long run.
That's really fascinating, actually. I wonder what we'll learn from it.
Me too. All right, now let's talk about something a little more mysterious.
Oh, lay it on me.
Have you heard about hidden ranking factors?
I've heard whispers. What have you got?
Well, Tom Capper over at Moz, he's got a theory that Google might be using how much people search for your brand name as a way to measure trust and authority.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so basically the more people are searching for your brand, the more Google thinks, hey, this must be a legit website.
Like a popularity contest for websites, almost.
Kind of. But it makes sense, right? If people are actively looking for you by name, you're probably doing something right.
Definitely. It shows that you've built up some brand recognition and that people trust you enough to specifically seek you out.
Exactly. And remember what Sandy Rowley said about building a strong brand presence.
Yeah, it all ties together.
So what can people do to make their brands more, searchable? Like, what are some practical steps?
It's not about just throwing money at ads or trying to go viral,
Right.
It's about creating a brand story that people connect with, being authentic online, and consistently providing value to your audience.
Well, it's about being real, being yourself.
Exactly. And it takes time and effort. It's not a quick fix.
So think long term, build a solid foundation.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's move on to some quick updates from Google.
All right, what's new?
Well, first up, they're getting rid of the caching feature for web pages.
Really? No more cached pages.
Yeah, that thing where you could see older versions of websites? It's gone.
Huh. I wonder why they decided to do that.
Me too. I mean, it's not like a huge deal, but it's a little inconvenient for users.
Yeah, if you're trying to find something that's no longer on the live site, you're out of luck.
Right, unless you use the Internet Archive or something like that.
Oh yeah, that's true. They've got a pretty impressive collection of old websites.
It's a digital lifesaver.
Totally.
Okay, last but not least, Jason Barnard, he's another SEO expert. He noticed that Google is starting to highlight content creators in their knowledge panels.
Oh, you mean those little boxes that pop up next to the search results?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool, right? It's like Google is recognizing the expertise of individual creators.
Yeah, it gives them more visibility, more credibility. It's a great way to stand out from the crowd.
So if you're a content creator, this is your chance to shine.
Absolutely. Make sure you have a good online presence, claim your knowledge panel, and keep creating great content.
It's like everything we've talked about is coming full circle. Building a strong brand, creating valuable content, optimizing your website, and now leveraging new features to boost your visibility.
It all works together. That's the key.
And it shows that SEO is always evolving,
Yeah,
We have to be adaptable and willing to learn new things.
definitely. If you're not learning, you're falling behind.
All right. Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, is there anything else our listeners should know about this crazy world of SEO?
The most important thing is to just keep learning. SEO is constantly changing, so you have to be willing to experiment and try new things.
Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty and see what works.
Exactly. And don't get discouraged if things don't go perfectly right away. It's all part of the process.
Great advice. Thanks for breaking it all down for us.
No problem. Happy to help.
All right, so stay tuned for part 2 of this deep dive, where we'll be diving deeper into content optimization, backlinking strategies, and more.
Looking forward to it.
See you there. Okay, so we've talked about how Google's always changing the rules of the game, but how do we actually keep up? Is there a secret formula or something?
If I had a magic formula, I'd probably be sipping cocktails on a beach somewhere. But seriously, the key is to remember that Google's main goal is to give its users the best possible experience. So anything you can do to make your website more user-friendly, well, that's going to score you some major points.
So we're not trying to outsmart Google anymore. We're trying to, work with them.
Exactly. And that's where content optimization comes in.
Right.
Remember Jake Bowley, the guy whose website traffic totally tanked?
Yeah, poor guy.
Well, once he started focusing on creating content that actually answered people's questions and addressed their needs, his traffic started to bounce back.
So it's not just about having, any content. It's about having the right content.
Exactly. Content that's useful, engaging, and relevant to what people are actually searching for.
And this ties back to what we were saying about building a strong brand, right?
Absolutely.
When you consistently deliver valuable content, people start to see you as an expert, an authority in your field.
Right. It builds trust.
And remember, Google might be using brand searches as a ranking factor so that brand recognition is more important than ever.
It's all connected.
Okay, so let's get down to brass tacks. What are some actionable steps our listeners can take to put all this into practice?
Well, first and foremost, you've got to do your keyword research.
Right, the good old keyword research.
It's the foundation of any good SEO strategy. You have to understand what your target audience is searching for.
So, what kind of questions are they asking? What are their pain points?
Exactly. And when we talk about keyword research, we're not just talking about finding the most popular words. It's about understanding the intent behind those searches.
Right, what are they trying to accomplish?
Exactly. Are they looking for information? Are they trying to buy something? Are they trying to find a specific website?
So it's not just about the words themselves. It's about what people are hoping to achieve when they type those words into Google.
You got it.
Okay, so let's say I have a website about, gardening.
Okay, I like it.
So I wouldn't just target the keyword gardening, right?
Probably not, no.
What would I do instead?
You'd want to get more specific. Think about the different types of gardening. Are people looking for information on growing vegetables? Are they interested in flower arrangements? Do they want to learn about organic pest control?
So instead of just gardening, I might target keywords like best vegetables to grow in containers, or how to create a butterfly garden.
Now you're talking. That's much more specific, and it aligns with what people are actually searching for.
So Google's happy, and my website visitors are happy.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
Okay, so we've got keyword research, content optimization. What else should we be thinking about?
Don't forget the technical stuff, the structure of your website, the technical SEO. All of that plays a role.
Right. Like making sure your website is easy to navigate, it loads quickly,
Exactly.
and it works on mobile phones.
Yep. All those things affect the user experience. And you know how much Google cares about that.
They're all about that user experience.
Right. And let's not forget about backlinks.
Ah, yes, backlinks. Those are still important, right?
Absolutely. High quality backlinks from reputable websites are like gold to Google. It's a sign that your website is trustworthy and valuable.
But it's not just about getting as many backlinks as possible, right?
Nope. Quality over quantity.
It's about getting links from websites that are relevant to your niche, websites that Google already trusts.
Exactly. A few good links are worth more than hundreds of spammy ones.
So how do you get those high-quality backlinks? Is it just a matter of, emailing people and begging them to link to you?
Haha, I wish it were that easy.
Right.
The best way to earn backlinks is to create content that's so good, so informative, so engaging, that other people naturally want to link to it.
So it all comes back to content.
It always does. Creating valuable content is the foundation of everything.
Okay, I think I'm starting to see the big picture here.
Good.
Now let's circle back to those regulatory changes we talked about earlier.
Right, the whole two internets thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how can people prepare for a potential split internet where SEO strategies might need to be tailored for different parts of the world?
It's all about staying informed, keeping your ear to the ground.
So keep an eye on how that Digital Markets Act is being implemented in Europe.
Yeah, and see how it's affecting SEO over there.
And if you have a global audience, you might need to adjust your strategies accordingly.
Exactly. For example, in Europe, where data privacy is a big concern, you might need to be more upfront about how you're collecting and using data.
Right, and maybe tone down the personalized content a bit.
Yeah, exactly. And, of course, keep watching what Google is doing. They're going to have to adapt to these regulations, and that could mean big changes for SEO globally.
So it's a bit of a wait-and-see game.
In a way, yes, but the more you understand the landscape, the better prepared you'll be.
All right, let's shift gears for a minute and talk about Google's decision to get rid of the caching feature.
Right, the cached pages.
Yeah. It seems like a small change, but could this have any bigger implications?
Well, for users, the biggest impact is that they might lose access to older versions of websites.
So no more going back in time through Google's cache.
Not anymore. But luckily, we still have resources like the Internet Archive, which is doing an amazing job of preserving digital history.
So it's not a total disaster, just a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, pretty much. But it does highlight the importance of digital preservation. We need to make sure that valuable information isn't lost in the constant churn of the internet.
Right, we can't just rely on Google to be our digital time machine.
Exactly.
Okay, last but not least, let's touch on Google's new feature that highlights content creators in their knowledge panels.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It seems like a big win for individual creators who are trying to, build their brand and get their name out there.
Absolutely. It's a great way for Google to recognize expertise and give those creators more visibility.
So what can creators do to make sure they're taking advantage of this feature?
Well, first of all, make sure you claim your Google Knowledge panel.
Right. Got to claim that real estate.
Exactly. And make sure all the information there is accurate and up to date. And then, of course, keep creating great content that showcases your expertise and engages your audience.
So it's all connected, right? Building a brand, creating great content, optimizing your website, and now leveraging new features like this to boost your visibility.
It's all part of the big SEO puzzle.
And it shows that SEO is a constantly evolving field, We have to stay curious and keep learning.
Definitely. The more you learn, the better equipped you'll be to adapt to whatever changes come your way.
Okay, before we move on to our final thoughts and wrap up this deep dive, is there anything else you think our listeners should keep in mind as they navigate this crazy world of SEO?
The best advice I can give is to stay curious, keep experimenting, and never stop learning. The world of SEO is always changing, so embrace the challenge and enjoy the ride.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot in this deep dive, everything from, those crazy ranking reversals to how to build a brand that Google will actually like.
Yeah, it's been quite the journey.
It has. So before we wrap things up, what are some of the big takeaways? What should people really remember from all this?
I think the biggest thing is that SEO isn't about, trying to trick Google anymore. It's about actually creating something valuable, something that real people will actually want to use and engage with.
It's about, playing the long game, right?
Yeah.
Building a website that people actually love.
Exactly. And that means focusing on user experience, creating awesome content, and, building a brand that people trust.
And of course, we can't forget Sandy Rowley's golden rule.
Yes, the Google basket.
Don't put all your eggs in it.
Okay.
We have to diversify our traffic, explore other channels, not just rely on Google for everything.
Yeah, spreading the love a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's all about the user.
Always.
If we create websites that are easy to use with content that's actually helpful and engaging, and if we build brands that people trust, we're going to be in good shape.
Absolutely. When you focus on what users want, you're naturally going to be aligned with what Google wants to.
So it's like a win-win for everyone.
Exactly.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, here's the big question I want to leave our listeners with. In this crazy, ever-changing digital world, what are you going to do to make sure your online presence is strong, adaptable, and, ready for whatever Google throws your way next?
It's a question we should all be asking ourselves because, honestly, the answer is going to be a little bit different for everyone.
Right.
But the journey starts with, being curious, being willing to experiment, and having that desire to create something truly valuable online.
I love that. Be curious, experiment, and create value. That's a great way to sum it all up.
Yeah, I think so too.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this episode of The Deep Dive.
Sounds good.
Thanks for joining us on this wild ride through the world of SEO.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you've learned a thing or two, and most importantly, that you're feeling inspired to take your online presence to the next level.
To the next level.
All right, until next time, happy optimizing, everyone.
See you later.